Right, okay, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to click on this video. And the Chicago Blackhawks really are in a spot of bother. So, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that Nashville was going to win this game, in all fairness. But if you had to put your money on a team, it probably would have gone to Nashville. So, Chicago, let's not forget before we start any review, before we start any discussion on any game this season, obviously, without a real number one goalie. Obviously, they have Malcolm Subban, they have Lankinen, who played today, but it's not NHL starter levels. They are without Jonathan Taves, they are without Kirby Dach. So you have to remember, obviously, that there's huge missing factors which they can't do anything about, and factors which they could have addressed, but let's not get into that right now. Anyway, the Nashville Predators have just won against the Chicago Blackhawks 2-1 after shootouts, and the Chicago Blackhawks, as I said, are in a real spot of bother because when you look at Chicago, the core of their team, Jonathan Taves, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Corey Crawford, 3 of those aren't available. Brent Seabrook, we know he's been over the hill for a few years. Duncan Keith probably has been as well. I've addressed that in previous videos, but he isn't the player he used to be. He's still very serviceable. He's a serviceable defenseman, but he is still the best defenseman and the go-to guy at the blue line for the Blackhawks, which is a big problem. And then when we look at the rest of the core, Jonathan Taves obviously is out. Patrick Kane obviously is Patrick Kane. He's still an excellent NHL player. And then you could argue that you have replaced some of those core players from the glory period, from the dynasty. Well, actually, you can't really. Dominik Kubalik is a great player, yes, but with the pieces that they have lost, he doesn't replace them. He just offers something new, but he can't replace every one of them. And that is really the problem of the Blackhawks. If we look at the game, so there were 2 goals scored, both were in the third period. The Nashville goal came through Nick Cousins, after Lankinen arguably should have done better, should have been positioned lower on the ice, but then again, he made 41 saves on 42 shots, so you can't blame him for the loss tonight. He had a great night. And then Ryan Carpenter on a goal, getting his own rebound, and then finishing it fairly soon, just 4 minutes after the Nashville Predators scored. But that was it. The problem with the Chicago Blackhawks really lies in their creativity. If we look at the stats, so 0-4 on the power play, in all fairness, so was Nashville, not good enough by any standards. Hits, only 10, that's not going, that's just all over the ice, sorry. But that indicates that there is not that much forechecking, there's not that much backchecking. No one's really going to be a power forward. No one's going to go grind for those pucks when you need to grind for those pucks. And when you then look at the shots, 5 in the first period, 10 in the second, 10 in the third, it's not good. And the first period really was a bore fest. It was up there with the Edmonton versus Toronto game that we saw, the first one of the series this season. It was terrible. Both teams with 5 shots. Nashville picked it up in the second, 14 shots, and really tried to go for the win and for the kill in the third with 21 shots. However, it wasn't enough. They went to overtime, where Chicago, in all fairness, dominated with 5 shots compared to Nashville's 2s. And Chicago hit the post after the puck took a deflection off a Brett's skate. And that therein lies the problem for the Blackhawks, that they have 3 guys that can lead a team, and that is 3 saying a stretch, because I believe Duncan Keith is over it again. But that is Kubalik, that is Kane, and that is Keith. And then you have Connor Murphy, Calvin DeHaan, who aren't bad players by any stretch, and Matthias Janmark isn't a bad player, but are they players that you can rely on that will grasp the game by the scruff of the neck and will say, okay, well, guys, that will rally the troop and that will do it himself? Probably not. When you look at Nashville, the firing power up front is much greater, and at the back, obviously, they are much superior. They have Uriel Magnosi, they have Ryan Ellis, and in goal they have Jussi Saros or Pekka Rinne, and in the years to come they will have Yaroslav Askarov. So it's really a team that should be performing much better, but they aren't. And let's get right into the Predators. So the Predators, 42 shots on goal, 40 of those shots were in regulation time. They dominated the game, although they don't have that X factor, that je ne sais quoi like they used to have. They used to be a very entertaining team to watch, a team that really went out there, played for the win from minute one. And ever since that first round loss, not even first round loss, the play-in loss against Arizona Coyotes, they haven't been good. Against the Arizona Coyotes, they were very lackluster offensively. At some points showed signs of brilliance, but they were managed comfortably by the Arizona Coyotes, and that hasn't translated into motivation for the season. That exit has not translated into players stepping up their game, unfortunately. If we look at the stats, the only stats going their way really are the shots on goals, but it's all good and well having shots on goals. If you're not going to utilize those shots, what's the point? Face-off, in the face-off circle, they were dominant, 60%. But face-offs are face-offs. You can get an opportunity here and there from a face-off, but if you don't utilize it, if you do not tire out that defense, if you don't stretch the play, it leads to a whole lot of nothing. Again, on the power play, they were 0 for 4. Hits, though, and blocks, they were leading. So in hits, 18 hits, leading the Blackhawks by much, really trying to tire out that defense, those players, really trying to play a physical game. It wasn't enough, it wasn't to be, and then the blocks 18, and then 10 giveaways as well, which indicates that the Nashville Predators, just, there's something there, but they can't quite get it to fruition. If we look at the standings, it's perfectly explained in the standings. So, the Central Division, where Nashville currently sits 5th. I don't know if they have actually updated those standings yet. Let's refresh the page on NHL.com. Not a sponsored video. So, I hope it is. It has been updated. Nashville currently sits 5th on 6 points after 6 games. So win percentage of exactly 0.5. Chicago currently sits 6th. But the first place team is Columbus with 7 points after 7 games. So you could argue, yes, the Chicago Blackhawks haven't been performing badly. You look at the second place team, the Dallas Stars, 3 games, 6 points. The third place teams, the Panthers, 3 games, 6 points. The fourth place teams, Tampa Bay, 4 games, 6 points. You expect those teams to really pick it up, to really get some more points. So, in fact, Chicago is much further from those playoff spots that one could imagine. And if you look at the teams below them, it's Detroit with as many games played with just 1 point less, and Carolina with 4 points in only 3 games. So Carolina will most likely leapfrog them in the next game or 2 that they play. And it's not looking good for Chicago. The only teams that I could honestly say look worse currently are the New York Rangers, but the New York Rangers have something going for them. They have that team with those players that you know can pick it up. You think of Lafreniere, you think of Panarin, you think of Mika Zibanejad, and at the back, I dislike him, but Tony DeAngelo can do a job. Keandre Miller is a promising player. Aaron Fox is going to be a hell of a player in this league. Pavel Buchnevich, again, you could rattle off 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players if you wanted for the Chicago Blackhawks. And then they have a great goalie tandem. Not for the Chicago Blackhawks, for the Rangers, of course. My apologies. So I expect the Rangers to bounce back. And then when you think of other teams that are worse, perhaps Arizona, but Arizona seems to be able to score goals. And yes, they haven't had much luck recently, and they aren't a team that are expected to challenge for the playoffs either. But they are showing more promise. They are showing more promise than the Blackhawks. And then Ottawa as well. Only 3 points in 6 games. But they're playing with guys like Chabot, like Stutzler, like Brady Tkachuk, who perhaps aren't there yet. But it's an upward trajectory for Ottawa. It's an upward trajectory for the New York Rangers. It's an upward trajectory for pretty much Carolina as well. Detroit, yes, you could argue Detroit is the worst team of the lot, but Chicago is truly in a rebuilding phase without having anything to cling on to. They do not have Kirby Dach now playing with a team, really making it his own team, building around Kirby Dach, because he's not playing. Jonathan Davis is out, so he's not there to mentor Kirby Dach if he would be playing. Patrick Kane is left to fend on his own along with Dominique Kubalik. It's just not good enough. And who's to blame? You could say it's Stan Bowman, not replacing key parts of the team in time, not looking to trade away Deadwood when it should have been traded away, holding on to some players for too long, and some trades. I actually made a video. I started making a video in August, and it's not a great video, obviously, but it was a video on the fall of the Chicago Blackhawks dynasty, and it was supposed to be 35 minutes long. I decided that I had other things to do, or I didn't decide, I had other things to do, so I haven't even been able to edit half of it. But when you look at it, you have guys like Panarin, you trade them away. You have guys like Brandon Saad, you trade them away twice. You have a guy like Henry Yokoharu, who is an up-and-coming defenseman and still has a lot to prove. You trade him away. So Chicago really hasn't done a great job of managing their assets, which are those players, of managing their assets in those trade picks. Yes, they've selected Kirby Dach, who's an excellent player. But one player will not fix all those underlying problems that go deep to the core of the Blackhawks. And I'd like to make a video on the Blackhawks. I will make a video on them and how they have gone downhill and what the factors are. Now for Nashville. Nashville, again, if they can regain their mojo, if they can get a streak going of 2, 3, 4, 5 games without a loss, I believe they will be on track, because I predict them for the playoffs in 4th spot. To be fair, I also predicted Carolina, but because they haven't been playing, it's hard to tell. But I expect Nashville to pick it up. Chicago, I'm terribly sorry for those fans who... But then again, should he be sorry for fans who have seen a dynasty? Maybe. Anyway, I could talk about it in a lot longer. I could go full length and talk about this team for 20, 25, 30 minutes, but I will refrain from doing so. So that brings this video to a close, actually. So if you have enjoyed this video, I thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Please consider liking the video. Thanks again for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Please watch some more videos in the recommended, up here, probably up there. I'm not exactly sure. And I will talk to you very soon.